Have you ever wondered how mortgage rates are set? They very closely track the T-bill, which are debt instruments issued by the United States Treasury that consumers can purchase in exchange for interest payments at the time the instrument matures. Now, this is considered the safest form of investment that one can make because it's backed by the United States government, and they do not have a history of defaulting on their debt obligations to consumers. Now, the pricing on these bills moves up and down for lots of reasons, and we don't need to dive too deeply into it, but it's some of your basics. There's economic uncertainty. If things look like they're trending downwards or more risky, investors will demand higher returns in these bills, and thus their rate of return will be higher. If inflation appears to be ramping up, again, investors will demand higher returns, and those rates move higher again. Basic supply and demand, of course, plays a factor. How many investors in the market are looking for these bills will, of course, directly impact their pricing. There's a multitude of reasons, but the gist is they're the safest debt instrument that can be purchased. And for a multitude of factors, their pricing and their returns and their rates move up and down. So the mortgage interest rates track these closely. They are not the same amounts, but they will move in the same directions. And this is because a mortgage is simply a riskier investment for a lender to make. So if we're talking about the T-bill again, if I purchase one, I would be a lender and I would essentially be lending money to the United States government. And I know this is a very low risk loan. I'm all but certain they're going to repay me. So I'm not going to demand very strong interest rates. On the flip side, if I'm a mortgage lender and I'm lending a substantial sum to an individual to purchase a property, even if they're very well qualified, it is inherently a higher risk lending proposition. Something could happen to the property, something could happen to the job of the borrower, perhaps a default on the loan. So even the best cases, those are riskier investments than a treasury bill. So if the treasury bill is here, the mortgage rates are always going to be here. They'll move up and down in the same directions, but there will always be a spread between the two because mortgage loans are inherently riskier instruments for the lender. It's not much more complicated than that. So if you want to get a clue of what's going on with interest rates, just take a look at what's going on with treasury bills.